Let us continue on the definition of terms. Now, the nature of measurement of variables. So when I talk about measurement, it is assigning numerical values to your variables. Now, again, it's assigning numerical values to your variables in such a way, such as your objects, your events, your situations, okay, your symbols, letters, or numbers to empirical properties of variables according to rules. So there are two ways that measurement could be done. That could be through counting or ranking of objects or events. Okay, so it could be counting or ranking of objects or events. Now, numbers. When I talk about numbers, numbers are numerals that have quantitative meaning and are amenable to statistical test. So again, they are numerals with quantitative meaning that are amenable to statistical test. So here are the different levels of measurement. First, your levels of measurement is also referred to as your scales of measurement. So your scales of measurement is actually based on the theory of scale type, which was formulated by the psychologist Stanley Smith Stevens. Let's talk about the four levels of measurement. The first level of measurement is referred to as nominal scale. Okay. A data or a variable in nominal scale are considered to be classified or events in two categories. So these are variables or events that are broken in two categories but cannot be ranked. A very good example would be sex. When I say male or female, I could not say that male is better than female, and so I could not say that females are better than males. So it could not be ranked. It is considered to be the lowest level of measurement. It is considered to be the lowest level of measurement because it will be useless if I will be adding it up, subtracting it, multiplying it, or dividing it. Okay, there's no computation. There's no mathematical computation that could be done on this type of data. Now, it can be named but not measured on a scale. And this one could be binomial or dichotomous data. For example, yes or no. Okay, or for example, let's say religious affiliation. I could not say that religious affiliation A, Catholics, is better than Protestants. I could not say that Muslims are better than Protestants because that would be an argument on religion, and we don't want to be on that line. Okay, that's why it's considered to be nominal scale. Next, ordinal scale. When I say ordinal scale, as the term implies ordinal, order, it shows the relative ranking of the variables or events. Okay, there is a ranking. Let's say, for example, first honor, second honor, third honor. Yeah, your firstborn, secondborn, the youngest, the mid-child. These are data in the ordinal scale. Okay, take note that I know that he is the valedictorian. I know that he is the salutatorian. I know that he is the third honors, but I do not know, okay, by how many percent or by how many points is the valedictorian higher than the salutatorian. In other words, I know their ranking, but I do not know the distance between ranks. I do not know the differences between ranks. So meaning the data there are grouped according to magnitude or intensity. So ordinal data are categorized and ranked or ordered from the highest to lowest, okay, or most to least. That is the basis, okay, or it could be vice versa. As long as you know, oh, he's top one, or maybe you can say that's the worst plant because of the ranking, okay, or you can say this is the most palatable food that I had. Okay, so those are all based on ranking. Okay, ordinal scale. Now, the next measure is interval scale. When I talk about interval scale, they show rankings of variables or events on a scale with equal intervals between numbers, and it consists of real numbers. There is a 0 point, but this 0 point remains arbitrary and it is not an absolute zero. Meaning, hey, there's a 0 here, but the 0 here does not imply that nothing exists. Okay? Now, a good example would be temperature, especially temperature in 0 degree Celsius. When I talk that something is at 0 degree Celsius, I know that 0 degree Celsius is the freezing point of water. Okay? The temperature still exists. -1 degree Celsius is there, -2 degree Celsius is there. That's your interval scale of measurement. But when I talk about ratio, I would usually say ratio. It ends with a 0. It ends with an O. That would imply that there is absolute 0. Okay? It's a ranking of larger bowls or events on scales with equal intervals and absolute zeros. The difference between your interval and ratio scale is that ratio scale would have absolute 0. It represents the actual amount of the property of the object possesses. Okay, let's say, for example, you have your mass. When I say that the mass of an object is 0 grams, does the object exist? It does not. It does not exist because 0 grams, it's nada. There's no object like 0 grams. Okay, take note that I'm talking about mass in physics. Okay, but if I talk about weight and say, for example, the weight of an object is 0 grams, can the object still exist? Yup, because when I talk about weight, that's mass times gravity. So for example, in our case, our weight is 0 when it comes to the moon, wherein there is no gravity. But I'm talking here about mass. Mass is the measure of matter. So I could not say that, oh, this object is 0 mole. No, I could not say that because that object is not existent anymore. In the same way, if I will say 0 degree Kelvin or 0 Kelvin, 0 Kelvin is the lowest recorded temperature in our planet. There's no life form beyond that temperature. Okay, there's no life form beyond that temperature. So what's the purpose of your nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio? This will help you later on determine if what is the most appropriate statistical tool that could be used for the purpose of your research. Okay, so you need to say, for example, oh, I'm having a data on nominal scale. I need to correlate this with a data on interval scale. What could be a very good test statistic? Then you'll be answering eta. If I have a data, an independent variable on nominal scale, and then the dependent variable is in ordinal scale, what could be a very good statistical test? So you could have your Kramer's V, you could have your chi-square. Okay, so these statistical tests are dependent on the type of variable that you will be encountering for your research. Now, one thing that we need to remember in this variable is that it is possible for the data in ratio scale to be converted to ordinal scale and to be converted to nominal scale. But nominal scale could not be converted to ordinal scale, so as ordinal scale could not be converted to interval or ratio scale. In other words, the scale of measurement could be narrowed down, or it could be stepped down. It could be transmuted, or it could be changed to a lower level of measurement, but it could not be moved to a higher level of measurement. Example, knowledge. I know your scores in research. I know your scores in medical surgical nursing. These are data in interval or ratio scale. If I opt to say, for example, and classify your scores as high, average, and low, I am converting my data from interval ratio scale to ordinal scale. That's how it works when it comes to your scales of measurement. Now, so these are devices that would assign numbers to subjects in order to place them in a continuum with respect to the attributes being measured. So this is another scale of measurement. We're referring here to your weighing scale, we're referring here to your thermometer. So these are devices that could assign numbers to subjects in order to place them in a continuum with respect to the attributes being measured. Height, we measure it using a ruler and meter stick. Weight, using your weighing scale. Temperature, using your thermometer. Nursing care, using some questionnaires. And it ranges from 0 or none to 100. The purpose of having these scales of measurement is to ensure that the data will be converted to numerical form, and data in the numerical form are easily manipulated and analyzed. There are different scales of measurement. The book of Cresteta Tan would give us some examples. You have your pain rating scale. So your pain rating scale could evaluate how effective is your nursing intervention for the pain of the patient, and then the effectiveness of your analgesics. So recall that when I say analgesics, these are medications that are intended to reduce the pain experience of your patient. There are several different scales that can be used. Okay, and then you can choose one, and then whatever scale you should be using, that should be appropriate for the age of your respondent, if ever you will be looking into scale, into pain, and then that should be giving you the same results. Okay, so this is an example. You have your visual analog scale. You tell your participant, uh, you are telling your participant that, hey, you try to evaluate your pain from 0 to 10, with 0 as the lowest and then 10 as the highest. Okay, so these are your way to evaluate your pain. Now, Likert scale. When I talk about Likert scale, it is the degree to which they agree or disagree with the ideas expressed by the indicator. So there is an indicator there, and then you will ask them, do you strongly disagree? Do you disagree? You're just neutral? Do you agree, or do you strongly agree to this idea? It is used to assess the attitude of respondents towards the variables being investigated. Okay? Example, I think I would like to use this system frequently. Then I need to tick, is it strongly agree, agree, neither, disagree, or strongly disagree? So it's a scale. Usually we use a scale of 3 to 5 point system. Next, graphic rating scale. It's a graph, of course, responding in a bipolar continuum. Say bipolar, highest to lowest, most to least, the thing I like the most, and then the thing I like the least. So it's a simple line in which one would mark an X anywhere between the extremes, with an infinite number of places where the X can be placed. Okay, so as you can see, there's a line here, and then I will just tell them, okay, you mark an X there, if the end line here is excellent, and then the one here is poor, mark X anywhere. Okay, how would you rate the quality of work? Okay, how would you rate the quality of work? Now, Guttman scale. Your Guttman scale is used to assess the attitude of respondents using a continuum of community statements. So for example, you say, what is your concept of healthcare services? So healthcare should be available to all people. Rich and poor alike can benefit from greater availability of healthcare. Free healthcare for all would be the interest of the nation itself, and Congress must enact a law making free healthcare for all who need it. As you can see, I will be able to pull out or call out, yeah, what's the view of the public when it comes to healthcare services. So you refer to that one as Guttman scale. So it is used to assess the attitude of respondents using a continuum of community statements. Next, you have your semantic differential scale. It is used to measure the meaning of concepts to determine the emotional component of the respondent's attitude. So you rate their attitude towards a given concept or proposition using several options. So again, your focus here is the meaning of concepts to determine the emotional evaluative component. That's your semantic differential scale. Okay, so for example, you use the word inaccessible, totally accessible. Others would say that your semantic differential scale is actually a derivative from your Likert scale. Okay, it just modified the words that are being used. So let's say, for example, rude, courteous, caring, and sympathetic. Then they mark it, okay, and then you'll be able to say or quantify how do they find the quality of care given to them. That will be all for this topic. Thank you for your kind attention.